Welcome to part 31 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. In this series, we deep dive cases including true crime, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, strange events, internet mysteries, and more. Also, I upload about 5 times per week, so make sure to subscribe for a constant stream of high-quality content. The Black-Eyed Children. The Black-Eyed Children first gained prominence in the late 20th century, with numerous reported sightings and encounters cropping up across the globe. These enigmatic entities usually resemble children between the ages of 6 to 16 with pale skin and eyes that are pure black, from lid to lid, devoid of any discernible iris or pupil. Besides the blacked-out eyes, these children typically appear to be otherwise normal, though this is not always the case. Sometimes reports indicate that their attire seems outdated and entirely out of place. Despite their odd eyes, witnesses generally report that these children do not look threatening at first. They are said to appear unexpectedly at the doorsteps of unsuspecting individuals, and are also on occasion reportedly seen hitchhiking or begging. However, given that most of the close encounters with these entities involve them arriving on the doorsteps of homes, I'm going to focus on that. Most reports indicate they request entry into homes with a sense of urgency and insistence, apparently relying on their childlike appearance to initially disarm people. Also, their initial request seems innocent enough, a simple plea to enter a home and use the phone to reach their parents. And after all, who could turn away an innocent child who is lost with no way of getting home, even if their appearance was slightly unusual? Many who claim to have encountered black-eyed children report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread and unease in their presence once they enter their homes. Individuals report that they felt that they were being subjected to an otherworldly influence or even a hypnotic force exerted by these strange entities. Some witnesses describe experiencing physical symptoms such as nausea, dizziness, or momentary paralysis, further adding to the eerie nature of these encounters. Further, once they gain entry, witnesses also report feeling compelled to comply with these requests, despite a deep-seated feeling of apprehension and danger. Some speculate that the legend may have roots in ancient folklore or occult practices, while others attribute it to the collective imagination of a society steeped in superstition and fear of the unknown. Further, another theory of the black-eyed children is that they are a form of alien being or vampire. In support of the vampire theory, theorists suggest that these ominous entities aren't traditional blood-based vampires, but rather energy vampires. When they gain entry to a home or a vehicle, the terror they inspire is used to open individuals up to having their life essence drained from them. Further adding to this theory is that people who claim to have encountered black-eyed children notice that they have numerous health problems arise after their encounter. This suggests that their vital force was indeed drained by the entity or entities, if the story is to be believed at face value. Other theorists have tied the black-eyed children to the myth of the phantom social workers, with some theorizing a connection between these two ominous entities. While you may be expecting me to dismiss these stories out of turn as an urban legend, given that black-eyed children are deeply ingrained in Western culture at this point, I hesitate to do so. So let me drop my black-eyed children theory on everyone, and let me know what you think of my analysis in the comments. There's been numerous documented encounters by people who claim to have seen black-eyed children. While these encounters are of course subjective, this doesn't mean we should dismiss the individuals claiming to have encounters or dismiss the stories. As of now, it's clear that these entities have become ingrained in our culture, and as such, the principles of mass hysteria have begun to take root. People who see someone behaving in a manner similar to that of one of these entities will take the cultural framework built up over the last decades and overlay it over their experience. For instance, children do show up on doorsteps of neighbors when they get lost. This is a factual daily occurrence across the world. Every once in a while, a child with dark eyes will end up on the doorstep of a black-eyed children believer and ask to use their phone. And put yourself in the shoes of the person who opens the door to the child. Are you going to turn away the child because of your belief in an urban legend? Likely not. You're going to allow the child into your home to make a call, but you're going to feel extremely uncomfortable about it, almost like you were, quote, compelled. After the child eventually leaves, you're going to ruminate over the incident constantly, and maybe this leads to some serious anxiety. And then because your mental health has taken a hit, things start going badly in your life. Next thing you know, a perfectly innocent encounter has, by the transformative power of the cultural mythos of the black-eyed children, become an ominous event. In short, just because black-eyed children don't exist on a balance of probabilities doesn't mean they aren't real to those who experience encounters. To people who encounter what they believe to be black-eyed children, those encounters are real, and based upon the cultural mythos surrounding them, can have serious real-world consequences. The Setagawa Family slaying. This is another excellent suggestion from frequent contributor, patron, and Discord member Monoxide Wendigo. You're an absolute legend. Remember to leave your suggestions in the comments, or join the Discord to further discuss suggestions with myself and the entire community. Also, before starting this segment, if you're just listening, I encourage you to look at the picture on screen right now showing the family in happier times. In the quiet Tokyo suburb of Setagawa, an extremely unsettling incident involving the Miyazawa family occurred on December 30th, 2000. Mikio Miyazawa, his wife Yasuko, and their two children Nina and Rei were found deceased in their home, an event that shocked the nation and the entire world and remains unsolved to this day. The incident unfolded when the intruder apparently entered through an unlocked window, utilizing a ladder found in the backyard. Mikio is believed to have first encountered the intruder, as he was found at the bottom of the staircase, suggesting an initial confrontation. Mikio was ended by a knife, as were Yasuko and Nina, while Rei met his end due to constriction around his neck. Like with virtually everything with this case, it's unknown why the perpetrator utilized different methods to commit the slayings. What followed was nearly as perplexing as the heinous acts themselves, and added to the intrigue and mystery surrounding the case. For reasons unknown, the intruder spent several hours inside the Miyazawa home, engaging in mundane activities such as eating ice cream, drinking tea, and browsing the internet. This unusual behavior, including creating a folder on the family computer and changing into clothing owned by the victims, points to a bizarre sense of calm and entitlement. Forensic evidence, including DNA, fingerprints, and items left at the scene, such as clothes and a sashimi knife, provided investigators with numerous leads. However, the killer's identity remains a mystery, as none of the forensic evidence matched existing records. The items recovered suggest that the intruder prepared for the crime. This strongly suggests that this was not just a spur-of-the-moment evil act by a madman. Investigative efforts have been extensive, with the Tokyo Metropolitan Police dedicating significant resources and enlisting international help to analyze the DNA evidence. Adding to the mystery, the perpetrator left a bag at the crime scene, which contained an unusual source of evidence: sand. After analysis, it was determined that there was two sources for this sand. The first was Edwards Air Force Base in California, and the second was a skate park in Japan. Despite this, no suspects have been apprehended, and the motive remains unclear. The perpetrator's profile, deduced from the DNA evidence, indicates likely mixed heritage, with maternal European and paternal East Asian ancestries. Further, he is believed to be of thin build and medium height. However, to complicate factors, the DNA analysis at the time was only able to determine that the perpetrator's mother was matrilineally European. This means that it's entirely possible that this ancestry could be so distant that both the mother and the perpetrator were unaware of any European ancestry. That said, DNA analysis has now come a long way, and I'm quite surprised that DNA analysis technology hasn't been used to create a composite. This technology allows for the production of a sketch that's based on what the perpetrator's DNA says about his physical appearance. I note that this technique has been effectively applied in recent years. Several theories have been proposed over the years, ranging from a random act of violence by a disturbed individual to a targeted attack for reasons unknown. As discussed, there's just too much preparation indicating that this was not a random act or a crime of opportunity. One speculative theory involves a disgruntled skater, possibly angered by noise complaints made by the Miyazawa family due to a nearby skate park. This theory is supposedly backed by the skate park sand found in the bag at the scene. Other suggestions include a hired professional or a burglar, but without a clear motive, these theories remain speculative. With respect to the hired professional theory, there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that anyone would have an interest in doing so to this family. Further, one must question why such an individual would eliminate an entire family. Surely a professional would understand the heat associated with such an extreme crime could very well be quote-unquote career-ending. Given the extreme and constant attention that's been brought to this case already, I'm not sure any new theories will break this case. However, I suspect what will eventually solve this cold case is genetic genealogy. Also, just a quick bit of background information for those unfamiliar with this new technology. Genetic genealogy uses DNA testing to explore familial relationships and ancestry. By analyzing specific regions or markers in DNA, investigators can discover relatives, trace lineage, and explore ethnic origins. This approach combines traditional genealogical methods with genetic analysis, helping to build family trees, which are then used to connect perpetrators to their living relatives. The process involves comparing DNA found at crime scenes to databases of people who have voluntarily submitted their DNA to ancestry testing services. And yes, as you may have guessed, this is an extremely controversial practice at present. In recent years, this method has proven extremely powerful in solving cold cases of all kinds. My theory on how this will be solved is as follows. The perpetrator's relative will use an ancestry service, which will eventually ping as a close genetic match to the perpetrator. Investigators will track down the innocent relative, who will hopefully be able to give a list of anyone who matches the profile of the potential slayer. From there, investigators will be able to obtain genetic material from the perpetrator, solving the case once and for all. If you have any information regarding this case, please contact the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. This case is perhaps the most active cold case I've ever covered in this series, as the investigation is still very much ongoing. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. My goal is to create the most expansive iceberg series in YouTube history, complete with solid research and interesting analysis and commentary. If that's something that you value and enjoy, I want you to get on board and join this community. It's as simple as clicking subscribe. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership and joining the Patreon. You can support my work for as little as 99 cents per month. Your support allows me to dedicate an extremely large amount of my time to content creation. Further, your support also allows me to tackle more difficult issues that risk demonetization. Also, remember to join the Discord community. We're nearing 80 members now, and the community is super active. Click the link in the description. The mysterious disappearance of Jim Thompson. Jim Thompson, known as the Thai Silk King, was an American businessman and former OSS officer, renowned for revitalizing the Thai silk industry in the mid-20th century. Notably, the Office of Strategic Services was the precursor to the CIA. So let's just say Mr. Thompson had some connections in high and shadowy places. His mysterious disappearance in 1967 during a visit to Malaysia's Cameron Highlands has sparked decades of speculation and investigation. On March 26, 1967, Thompson went for a walk in the highlands and never returned. Despite extensive searches involving over 500 people, including police, soldiers, and local trackers, no trace of him was ever found. Thompson's background in intelligence during World War II and his significant role in international silk trade have led to various speculative narratives. Some suggest that his disappearance was related to his past intelligence activities, possibly involving enemies he made during his service. Others theorize that it might have been connected to business rivalries or personal disputes within the extremely lucrative silk industry. Another perspective considers the possibility of an accident or a natural mishap in the dense jungle, which could have left no trace of him. This theory is supported by the challenging terrain of the Cameron Highlands, which is known for its extremely dense vegetation, not to mention all the wild animals. With respect to the kidnapping theory, I find this theory to be implausible, but of course, not impossible. Thompson was well known to be extremely wealthy, and as such, anyone who kidnapped him would be well aware that he was worth much more alive than deceased. Further, no ransom note or demands were ever received at any point. Interestingly, some people who knew him suggest that he did disappear of his own free will, having grown world-weary and tired of the complexities of his life. Interestingly, there were a number of sightings of Jim Thompson in Tahiti, though they have not been confirmed. Also, unlike other cases where people simply toss out the "hey, maybe they disappeared of their own volition" hypothesis with zero circumstantial evidence, this isn't the case here. Jim Thompson's extensive connection to the most powerful international intelligence apparatus in the world suggests that he likely had the means to acquire a new and credible identity. Further, others theorize that the entirety of his business in Southeast Asia may have been a front for intelligence activity. There's no direct evidence for this theory other than the commonly held belief that once you're in the intelligence community, you're never truly out of it, especially at Jim Thompson's level. At any rate, over the years, the lack of conclusive evidence and the enduring allure of Thompson's story have kept public interest alive. The Nurikabe. The Nurikabe is a fascinating entity from Japanese folklore, known as a yokai. If you've watched this entire series up until this point, you're familiar with yokai by now. But if not, or if you need a reminder, yokai encompass a wide variety of phenomenon. These creatures include cryptids, spirits, and ghosts, minor gods, demons, and other supernatural or paranormal phenomena. The term Nurikabe translates to plaster wall, aptly describing its manifestation as an often invisible, impassable barrier that blocks or misdirects travelers, often leaving them hopelessly lost. This yokai is particularly associated with the coastal areas of Fukuoka Prefecture, though its stories are widespread across Japan. Historically, the creature is cited in various folklore accounts as an impediment to travelers who would encounter this invisible wall and find themselves unable to proceed along their path. It was typically blamed for the mysterious disappearances or lateness of individuals, particularly during the night. Some legends associated with the creature suggest that it worked in conjunction with other supernatural entities to force travelers to take detours into perilous areas. Once the travelers were off the main path, the creature's quote-unquote partner in crime would assail the unsuspecting traveler. This phenomenon could be resolved by striking the lower part of the wall, which would cause the Nurikabe to disappear and allow the traveler to continue on their journey. The origins of the Nurikabe are murky. Further, unlike other prominent yokai, this one appears to predate the Edo period. One theory suggests that its legend began as an explanation for the delayed or non-arrival of travelers, possibly exacerbated by natural phenomena such as dense fog. Another interesting perspective links the appearance of the creature to the increasingly heavy usage of plaster walls in Japanese building practices. Another traditional explanation for the creature is that they aren't actually an independent form of yokai, but rather that they are the result of tanuki magic. Under this theory, a tanuki, also known as a Japanese raccoon dog, shapeshifts into a wall to play a cruel practical joke on travelers. Also, interestingly, the concept of this yokai has been adopted quite heavily into Japanese video games. Some have speculated that womps, large stone blocks that drop down and impede the player's progress in the Mario series, are based on this creature. However, I wasn't able to find any official confirmation of this theory, and as such it remains a hypothesis at present. Also, Japanese RPGs routinely have a mechanic wherein invisible barriers are presented to players to block off areas that the developers don't want the player visiting yet. Notably, Western players, unfamiliar with the cultural concept of an invisible wall, often complained of this as lazy game design. Also, I note that though this trope was quite common in the 90s, it is essentially extinct at this point. I would like to see the idea of this yokai integrated more into the horror genre. The idea of an impassable sentient wall forcing you along an unwanted path is just inherently creepy. The Karadag Serpent. This entry is another suggestion by Discord member and patron Iced Mocha. Like her previous suggestions, there are extremely limited sources on this creature in the English language, with most sources being in Ukrainian and Russian. And just a quick reminder, I love hearing suggestions about various cases that have received little to no coverage on English language YouTube. Remember to leave these suggestions in the comments, or join the Discord to discuss them with me and the community directly. From ancient times to the present day, the existence of a sea serpent or dragon in the waters of the Black Sea has been repeatedly mentioned. It is especially often seen in the Karadag Nature Reserve off the coast of Crimea, where it apparently lives. Herodotus, universally cited as the father of history, and who lived in the 5th century BC in Greece, was the first to apparently report this creature in writing. He recounted a tale of an unknown 30-foot monster that lived in the waters of Pontus, the kingdom located in modern-day Turkey, adjoining the Black Sea. This is the earliest known surviving account of the Karadag Serpent. However, given that Herodotus compiled histories and was not a primary source, it was known before that. A Byzantine historian, Procopius of Caesarea, who lived in the 6th century AD, mentioned the same monster hunting dolphins. Interestingly, in 2011 in Kerch, in Crimea, a large number of dolphins were found expired under mysterious circumstances, reigniting interest in this cryptid. In Turkish and Genoese medieval documents, there are references to how sailors encountered a terrible serpent that emerged from the depths of the sea. Also, to give a bit of historical background for those unaware, the Italian trading city of Genoa controlled large portions of Crimea in the medieval period and into the Renaissance era. A similar case of a sea serpent sighting was described by an English merchant traveling along the Black Sea in the 16th century. The Crimean legend describes a giant scaled snake with a dog's head and a horse's mane, which brought a lot of trouble to the locals of the valley. The Karadag Serpent, according to the legend, is an amphibious creature, adding to the horror associated with it. It can live on land and in water, and is said to move throughout the entire peninsula, occasionally raiding into the countryside. The creature is associated with the local mountain Karadag, the remnant of an ancient volcano with regular eruptions resulting in the appearance of underwater caves that retain heat. Some theorists are convinced that this is the factor that became the catalyst for the appearance of the monster. It has been proposed that the creature, being cold-blooded, enjoys the heat associated with the ancient volcano. According to local legend, the Crimean Khan once summoned 500 Janissaries from Istanbul, who destroyed the serpent in combat, but failed to locate and destroy the nesting grounds. Later, numerous stories related to the serpent reached the Russian Emperor Nicholas I. At this time, the Crimean Peninsula was still newly under the control of this empire, with the Russians having conquered it from the Crimean Tatars just decades prior. In 1828, the emperor ordered a research expedition to the peninsula, whose task was to find evidence of the presence of a mythical creature. I note that this was during a time of significant exploration of the territories within and at the hinterlands of the Russian Empire. There's no confirmed accounts as to the results of this expedition. However, Russian and Ukrainian sources indicate a common belief that evidence for the creature was found. Theorists claim that this evidence was an egg from the creature. However, even if, quote, evidence was brought back to the Russian emperor, this doesn't necessarily make it true. For instance, Kublai Khan, who possessed functionally infinite wealth and near unlimited power, also had numerous purported cryptid artifacts such as eggs from the rock. These eggs were likely, of course, ostrich eggs sold at great value by being associated with a mythical giant eagle. But let's get back to the Karadag serpent for a moment. It seems implausible that a breeding population of giant sea serpents could inhabit such a small territory and remain virtually unnoticed for such an extensive period of time. My hypothesis is that many of the Karadag serpent sightings can be explained by a famous local fish, the beluga sturgeon. The largest reported beluga sturgeon was 23 feet long, and their bodies appear serpentine when viewed from the surface. Further, this misidentification explains how numerous cultures, who interacted with the Black Sea over the course of the last 3 millennia, have all reported a similar sea serpent. And to go back to the beginning, I note that Herodotus, in the first recorded explanation for this creature, noted the length to be 30 feet, remarkably close to the maximum beluga sturgeon size. And before you go and comment and say that this isn't actually remarkably close, there's something to think about. Consider that Herodotus never saw one or measured one, but was relying on the reports of notoriously unreliable and superstitious sailors. Make sure to check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. Your support allows me to keep producing content at a high rate and take on more difficult topics that risk demonetization. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't done so already. Like I said, I put out content constantly, and you don't want to miss it. Also, click the full tier playlist. There's literally dozens of hours of content for you to explore, with new content being added virtually daily. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Iced Mocha, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemoose. Big shout out to YouTube members Jordan All and Syntax Nexus. And for everyone else, I love you all and I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for being a part of this growing community, and I look forward to having you back again. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.